crescent wrench, spanner wrench. I'm going to take these knuckles and I'm going to bend them down, down, down. That's going to force this door closer to the door jamb up there, and it's going to lessen the gap there. It's going to raise the door up a little bit. I don't like to use pliers on here because then you get marks on there. You want to take this, you don't want this edge down. If you have this edge down, you could hit the door on it. You know, if you're there and you go down, this could hit the back edge if you're not paying attention. So that's why I go up high, up here. And I'm going to pull down on this, the same amount of force on each one. And if you use too big of a crescent wrench, you might start hitting this back of the crescent wrench right up against the door. So each time you go down, you can put just a slight little mark on your door. And these are 3.5-inch hinges. I've got enough oomph with a small little spanner crescent wrench to where I can still bend these. If this was a 4-inch hinge or a 4.5-inch hinge, I'd have to use a bigger crescent wrench. Okay? Now I'm going to bend this down a little bit. You see how that went down? And look at that. I want to make this one the same. And this one. Try to get in the middle. Because sometimes these have a tendency to kind of go wonky, these two here, because they're a little bit smaller tab than the middle one. You know? So now I can get down there and kind of eyeball that, and it looks like the middle one has to go down slightly, not a lot. Okay? That looks good. That should take up that little bit of gap. That's probably going to raise the door up maybe a 1/16 or so. That's all I want. I'm hoping that the door, I'm going to have a little bit more gap up at the top edge of the door on the side, okay, because remember it was getting kind of close. And I still don't want it to rub on the top, okay? So my next step, I'm just going to let the video camera continue. My next step is to put these hinge pins back in, and I want to try to put the greasiest one I took out at the top. I want to put that one back up there. So I'll just have to make note of that. And I'm gonna start at the third one anyways. That way I can put the first pin in without getting up on my ladder because this thing is so tall. Remember, I got this soffit up here. If I would have tilted this door up right along that wall, I could have hit the top of the soffit and gouged the soffit over there. You gotta be careful with stuff like that. And I think I'm gonna move the door this way so that you can see. That might be a little better. And I'm going to put this pin in, line that up. These are a little bit harder because I'm right-handed, so I've gotta be careful. I should have this one pin in my hand, so I'm just gonna start right there, one I can reach. Okay, line it up. I should be able to push that down with my thumb, but not. Okay. I'm just concentrating on those two nibs. I don't want to, if I bang that all the way down, I could bend that because the rest of the door is not in place yet. Okay, so now I can do the top one. Boy, because I had all that grease stuff, that I should have leaned this door on the inside on top of linoleum or tile. Luckily, see, it kind of went on the face of the door. Luckily, it did not get on the carpet. Because then Then we'd be in for that. Okay, now I can move that where it needs to go. Boy, okay, I have to resituate this door because it's so tall. There. See? It's so tall. Usually you're working with 6'8" doors. There, see? Look at that. And again, I don't want to push that in all the way until I get the rest of the pins in. Let's get you over here. Maybe this might be a better angle. Let's see. Putting these other pins. And at this point, I'm just going to grab the door over here, kind of move it around until I feel it needs to, it can be. See, I just lifted it at the bottom, went in. Push on there, went in. I'm going to have to wash my hands before I do anything. And now I'm going to just take my electrical cutters. And see, that's all I'm using are these. See? I'm holding it up like that, right up against there, and pounding on the top of that, using that, because these hinge pins are real close to the wall. I don't want to tap those in all the way in case I need to do any more adjustments to take this door back down, but hopefully I don't have to. Hopefully I tweak this and not too much, you know. If I did it too much, then obviously in order to fix it, I got to take the door back down, don't I? Okay, moment of truth is I'm going to have to close this. I'll let you see that. It's closing a little stiff, but let's see here. We got a little bit extra gap here, see? A little bit right there. Let's see, remember that gap was bigger before? And because I tweaked that hinge, because I pulled over just the ones on the door sideways that way, didn't do anything to the ones on the wall, that helped me push the door over, and now that gap is less. Remember how big that gap was? I mean, it's still substantial, but that's good. And you remember before, this gap wasn't as big as this. It was a little bit smaller. That helped raise that up, didn't it? That raised it up. I like that because chances are, over time, next 5 years or so, if anything happens to this door, what do you suppose is going to happen? Over time, most doors have a tendency to want to sag. And they sag for many different reasons. The screws get loose, the hinge pin starts getting worn out inside, it starts wearing the knuckles out inside the hinge, and then your hinge is kind of sloppy, like this. So what do you suppose the door does? You think the door goes to the right, or do you think it goes to the left? With this type of door, it's going to go to the left, which is going to slightly make it sag. And then you're going to have problems with it. Now with this one, because I've got a nice gap there, if it sags a 1/16 of an inch, is it going to hit the door edge? No. The door jamb? No. I have just enough room, so if it does slightly sag over the years, I'm still not going to have to fix it. Remember what the gap was before? It was fine, but it was kind of tight. It was only about a 1/16 of an inch. Had I have left it, had it ever sagged 1/16 of an inch, would have hit the edge of the door jamb, wouldn't it? Now see, the top is just a hair higher because I moved it over and that raised this up. Remember the gap was a little bit bigger at the top, but that's okay, that's at the top. It's never going to get any higher than that, is it? So, and opening and closing this door is working fine. The door is closing all the way up there. It's not hitting anything now, see? If anything, I could get up there with my rasp, which I think I'm going to do. Now see, Look at that door. It's kind of closing on its own. That's okay. Everything's fitting on it now. Got it. I got everything nice and snug. This is a 17-year-old door. It's nice there. Now I'm going to take my rasp and I'm going to go up there, and because that soffit's up there, luckily for me, there's enough room to do some work up there. I can find my rasp. So I always carry my rasp in my nail bag. You got to get one of these. And the funny thing is, if you buy this at the store, usually you can buy them separate, or you can buy it in a set. You get this, you get a couple handles, you get different files, and you can almost buy a whole set of these, the files and stuff, and it comes with one of these for almost the same price as this. So even though I don't really use the other files, I got the whole set, and I end up basically using this, and I've got all these other files in case I ever need them. I've got them. You know what I mean? Okay. So I'm just going to look up there and see what's going on. Maybe clean that edge up. I could have done that with the door down. Almost feels like the door's at a slight angle. I'm using my rough side first. I can't really see what I'm doing up there. I don't want to go all the way through with my rough, because then I could chip off the back side. So I've got to do half this way, and then I can turn around and do the smooth and do the rough on the edge, or I can do the flat side. That's just going to clean up the outside of the door. That's the side you see. Now I can do the back just a little bit. It looked like it was actually really good up there. If anything, it's just missing by maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's never going to get any higher, right? Anything later on, it's going to sag. I'm just going to clean off this edge. This door skin is probably 1/8 of an inch. If I just do that, see, I'm not going all the way through. If I went all the way through, I could flake that off, especially if this is a wood veneer, like a stained gray door with wood veneer. You go, and then you clip the edge, and you got a sliver here that's loose, and you're like, oops. Well, that's what Joe meant. But this is a paint grade type door. It's like MDF solid fake wood material. If I were to go across, chances are it's not going to flake like that. But I still try to be aware of it. I'm using the rough. Now I can finish it off with the smooth. Clean off that edge. Feel it with my fingers. And it looks good. Almost feels like there's something. They're not going to take the door down again. Okay? I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. I am thinking we are done with this door. The only one thing I didn't check was, usually when I'm working on the doors, I'll check and make sure all the screws are not spinning or something. I worked on this hinge and the one down below, but I didn't check these. They're tight, and the top one, I don't think I checked the top one. Because if there's any screws that are just spinning, now's the time for me to fix it. Because I've got extra screws. Okay, but those are good too. Now, the only other thing I'm going to look at on this door is when I'm closing it. I'm going to see if the strike plate is adjusted. You see if I push on the door, hear that? I do. It does have a slight spring to it because I've been adjusting these and everything. So if I let go of the door, it's pulling against here so it doesn't do that. But I can get that better. There's a tab on the inside of there. You've been watching my videos, you've seen them. And this one happens to have it with a little groove in the tab. I'm just putting it in there. I'm bending that out at an angle. That lessens the gap between the latch. See there? Look, I'm pushing on that. I'm liking that. I tell people not to tap on that because you might put a little mark in there. I almost did, but I told people not to do. I'm trying to lessen that just a little bit. If you go out too far, and if you really want to push that back in, the best way to do it is take the strike plate off. Take your pliers, bend it just a little bit, and then start over, or hope that you get it that time, or start bending it again. On some of them, there's not a groove in there, so if it's just a tab, I couldn't have done that. I would have had to pull this out, get my pliers out, pull this out, get the tab, hold it, bend on it, put it back in, hope that I did it just right, screw it back in. If it still chatters, I pull it out again. Sometimes I pulled out strike plates 2 and 3 times to get that adjusted. So I like the ones that have the tab. There's a little notch where you can put your screwdriver in there. Okay? Did you not watch my other video? I showed you in detail. All right, I'll show you. Get it close up here. Show you. See this tab? See the groove in there? That's where I put the screwdriver. And then I can pull that tab out properly, but I can't push it back in. Some don't have that groove in the tab. And I used to take a screwdriver and try to wedge underneath it and bend it out and bend the top out. You could push it out a little bit, but that gets all funky. It's best to take it out. Do it with a pair of pliers when you don't have that little notch in the tab. Follow? Okay. Now, I'll put you back on the pedestal. I'm going to close this door. I'm liking that. Checked all that, and I can tap these pins in. And you know, I'm going to leave that pin out like that because there's another video I'm going to do. Believe it or not, yeah, it's all about making extra videos. And I'm going to clean off all the black carbon stuff. This door is a mess. There's stuff up here. I've got my finger marks on it. This, as I set this down on the carpet, this kind of went, so you see the marks on here? I'm not going to wipe it off now because I'll get it all over my nice clean rag, and I'm going to end up using simple green for that. I'm going to use a sponge. I'm going to use some water and all that. So why mess up my rag for right now? Because see, there's some black here. There's some fingerprints up in here. See that up in there? Look up there. There's some there. All along here. All that stuff's got to be cleaned off. Because I lifted the door, I can see where my fingerprints are. Right there. There's probably going to be, might be some on the side of the door somewhere. Yeah, see? Right there. Where I worked on that. And there's some on the edge of the door jamb. See if along there. Up there, there's some. On the back side of the hinge, there's some. And I'm going to make an entire video of that because there's a trick. Well, it's not really a trick, but it's probably something that you wouldn't even have thought of doing. But that's not going to be on this one. See, here's some on the back side of the door. Now, if I wasn't painting these doors, you wipe all this stuff off. You still want to do that. You can do all that stuff now, get it all nice and clean. even when you're not ready to paint. But, you know, can you imagine if I just had the painter, oh yeah, go ahead and paint. Because he's going to paint all these doors up in place. He's gonna paint everything. But do I want him painting off of that? And do I want him being the responsible person on cleaning these doors for me? He's not, you know, I'm paying him to clean or paint the doors. I'm not paying him extra to clean all the doors and everything. And he's not going to spend that much time on it. And then the paint's not going to stick to all that stuff. And then you're going to have to do 2 coats over certain areas. It's just a mess. So I'm gonna get them all clean. But if you weren't painting your doors, you still might want to watch that video, because I've got a couple things in store for you on how I'm going to do that and what I'm going to do even after that. I haven't even talked about what I'm going to do to those hinge pins, and it will fix that stuff from happening. If I just clean this off right now, a year down the road, I'm still going to have those marks. Okay? It's just the nature of the beast. Opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. Any carbon stuff that's on the inside of this, from the hinge pin rubbing on the inside of the hinge knuckles and stuff, eventually I'm going to get more of that stuff. Now, how am I going to fix that? I've got a way to do that, and I know you're going to like it, so keep watching my videos. Look for that next time. Ooh-wee. I just worked on that door. I got everything done down here. I fixed that door. I worked on this door. I worked on this door. That's 3 doors I worked on. Double door, I worked on that at length. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 doors I worked on. 10 doors downstairs on this walkout. I guess this is what is called a walkout. The main floor is upstairs, but it's not called second floor. It's called the main floor, and this is called a walkout because it kind of comes down the stairs and it's down below. It's not really a basement. It's called a walkout. I always forget that. 10 doors? 10 doors down here I've already worked on. And I'm getting ready to go up to the main floor and work on some more doors. More doors, yeah. That's what Joe's working on right now. Before I do that, I got some stuff on my hands, and I'm going to wash my hands off first before I go up there. I'm going to check out what I need to do with those doors. Stick around and we'll go inspect those doors on this video. You might learn something.